Hello, everybody. Welcome back to 3 News Now. It's Monday, September 14th. This is your afternoon edition with the top headlines from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. I'm Stephanie Haney. Thanks for choosing to be here so we can get you filled in and up to speed on everything that's happening here in Northeast Ohio over the past couple of hours as news continues to roll in. First up, we're going to talk about a new study that's happening in the UK related to COVID-19 vaccines. Now, something that we've been hearing a lot about is how the flu vaccine will be more important than ever this year as we try to keep people out of the hospital with the flu because we don't want those hospital beds to be taken up so that people who need treatment for COVID-19 and also other things can be admitted to hospitals and have that treatment, and we don't do the thing that we've been talking about from the very beginning, which is crash the health system. Well, there's another update related to a new trial for COVID-19 vaccines that also has to deal sort of with the flu and flu vaccines. This is based on previous studies. There have been previous studies that have shown that vaccines that you inhale can be as effective as vaccines that are injected into your muscle. And we have been hearing a lot about limited supplies. So also it's possible that these vaccines that can be inhaled require less vaccine in order to be effective than the ones that need to be injected. So that might be able to stretch supplies. So now there are researchers in the UK, these are out of the Imperial College London and Oxford University, that are announcing a trial of testing vaccines for COVID-19 that people would inhale with droplets in their mouths rather than being necessarily injected. So Dr. Chris Chu of Imperial is one of the people who is leading the research, and he talked about how flu vaccines given by nasal spray can be very effective and said that that could also be the case with COVID-19 and also things that are inhaled in other ways, like with these droplets in the mouth. So it's important to explore if those can be as effective as the vaccines that are injected into muscle. So those trials are now currently looking for participants. That's happening out of the UK. We'll be keeping an eye on that, of course, as we are keeping an eye on all of the trials related to COVID-19 vaccines. Now, that brings us to the latest numbers that we have from the Ohio Department of Health for how COVID is impacting us here in the state of Ohio specifically. Over the last 24 hours, new cases are up. It is back over the thousands. And new deaths, however, are still in the single digits after a week of high numbers last week. Taking a quick glance over those last week numbers, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But in the last 24 hours, there have been 1,079 new cases reported of COVID-19 here in Ohio. That's a big increase from yesterday when we saw 837 new cases reported. The total number of COVID-19 cases that we know about here in Ohio, this is dating all the way back to March 9th when we first learned about it being here, is now 138,484. Now, the Ohio Department of Health estimates that about 116,000 of those cases are presumed to be recovered. Now, the way they figure this out is they take a look at the cases that have been reported. They take a look at when people saw those symptoms. So if someone experienced symptoms 3 weeks or more previously to today and they are still alive, those people are presumed to be recovered according to the Ohio Department of Health. So that's where we're standing with that right now. Our positivity rating is lower than we have seen. It is 3.8%. So that means for all of the COVID-19 tests being done, 3.8% coming back positive. And that is below that World Health Organization recommended threshold of 5%. So that's good news there. We also saw 4 new deaths reported in the last 24 hours. That's the same number that we saw yesterday, and that's down from the number on Saturday when there were 8 new deaths reported. Now, last week, we saw some high numbers of new deaths reported. On Friday, September 11th, there were 49 new deaths reported. On Thursday, there were 30 new deaths reported. The total number right now of deaths related to COVID-19 here in Ohio is now 4,419. In the last 24 hours, we have seen 64 new people hospitalized, and the total number of people who are currently hospitalized related to COVID-19 is 671, so that's up a bit from yesterday. The total number of ICU admissions right now is 215 people who are actively in the ICU, and we've seen 9 new ICU admissions in the last 24 hours. Now, when we talk about that hospital bed occupancy rate, which I mentioned previously, right now that's at 71%. So that means that 29% of our hospital beds are available for people who need treatment for whatever that might be, COVID-19 or the flu or anything else, and it's important that we keep those beds available and don't let the system crash. So that's why experts are saying it's more important than ever that people get the flu shot this year, because that's a vaccine that we do have and that we do know is something that puts people in the hospital. Now let's take a look to compare at the national and the global numbers for COVID-19. These numbers come from Johns Hopkins University. The U.S. is now getting very close to 200,000 reported deaths related to COVID-19, and globally, the number of deaths reported is now over 900,000. Let's take a look at the exact numbers. In the U.S., there are now 6,535,105 reported cases of COVID-19, and the total number of deaths that have been reported is now 194,252. As we've been saying, the U.S. represents 4.25% of the global population, but our percentage of the deaths and the percentage of the cases of COVID-19 are much higher than that. The U.S. has about 21% of the known COVID-19 deaths in the world and about 22.4% of the known COVID-19 cases in the world. Globally, there are now 29,123,037 reported COVID-19 cases and a total of 925,662 reported COVID-19 deaths globally. Now let's bring it back here to Northeast Ohio, and we'll talk about a showing of unity after terrible messages, disrespecting, threatening messages were left on Kent State University's famous on-campus rock. So Kent State's Black United students held a unity march today. That was with Kent State University's president and also Kent State Police, after these messages have been left repeatedly on the on-campus rock. So Kent State University President Todd Dykin said because this has happened repeatedly, the university is now taking a look at what they can do, including should they fence off the rock, should they install security cameras, and even potentially remove the rock that's been a staple on the campus. In the meantime, in order to show unity and show that people are coming together, and this isn't what Kent State University stands for, the Black United Students Organization put together a march today for unity, and they called on anyone who wanted to join to come and participate in that march. So the president participated as well as Kent State Police. It was at about 1:30 this afternoon, and it brought students from all across the campus, from all backgrounds, to the march with members, of course, as I said, of the university's police department. Hundreds of students and staff showed up in order to show that they stand together and that the vile, hurtful, threatening messages are not what Kent State University stands for. Of course, everyone was observing the distancing protocols and wearing masks in what turned out to be a beautiful call for unity at Kent State campus today. In a stark contrast, which is a showing of actually just changing gears and letting go what doesn't work, Cleveland Browns have waived kicker Austin Seibert, and they have signed Cody Parkey. They've promoted him from the practice squad. Earlier today, when head coach Kevin Stefanski was asked about Austin Seibert, he said that the team was still gathering information. Well, apparently now they know everything that they need to know because they've promoted Cody Parker from the practice squad and they have waived Austin Seibert. He missed his only extra point attempt and field goal attempt, about 40 yards, in the season opener on Sunday when the Cleveland Browns lost to the Baltimore Ravens, a score of 38-6. It was a tough thing for a lot of people to watch. Now, after the game, first-time head coach Kevin Stefanski said that he expects Seibert to make those kicks, and he holds him to the same standard that he holds every player on the team. He has to make those kicks. That's what Stefanski said. Well, really putting his money where his mouth is and waiving Seibert today. So he could get claimed by another team now, or he could end up as a free agent. Only time will tell what happens to Seibert, but it looks like Parkey will be kicking on Thursday night against the Bengals in the Browns home opener. That's going to be at First Energy Stadium. That'll be kicking off at 8:20 p.m. on Thursday. That will be very exciting to watch. Both the Browns and the Bengals coming off of losses on this opening weekend. So they're both going to want it. We'll just see who wants it more and see what happens on Thursday at the home opener. And there have been permission given in order to have fans in the stands. So up to 6,000 people can be in the stands at First Energy Stadium. We'll see what kind of an impact that has on the game. We also got an update today from New York City about the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. The mayor says that it will not be live this year. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio said they've reimagined it. It won't be the same parade we're used to, but they are reinventing it for this moment in history, and you will be able to feel the spirit and the joy that day. So here are some of the changes that we can expect. They're only expecting to use about 25% of the people that they usually do in order to pull off the parade. They will not be walking that traditional 2.5-mile parade route through New York City. And when it comes to those giant character balloons, they will still have them, but they will not have those handlers. You know, you're used to seeing those people holding the strings, walking those balloons through the city streets. It won't be that. They'll actually be anchored to 5 vehicles to pull them along. It will be available to watch online and also on TV on Thanksgiving. So that will be nationwide on NBC. So you can watch that right here on 3 from 9 a.m. to noon, whatever your time zone is, on Thanksgiving Day. That will be very interesting to see for sure. That is something that a lot of people see as a major tradition, and it'll be interesting to see how they make it something special as we all work to see just what we have to do in order to move forward right now as we are dealing with COVID-19, something that we're all dealing with. Here's some cool news for John Carroll University. U.S. News and World Report has named JCU the top university in Ohio and also the top-ranked Jesuit school in the Midwest. It is the number 2 among best regional universities in the Midwest as well. Now, this is the second year in a row that John Carroll has been ranked number 2 in the Midwest, and the 32nd year in a row that JCU has been at least in the top 10 in the Midwest rankings. Other rankings for JCU in the Midwest regional category that are pretty high. Number 1 in Best for Veterans. Number 3 in Best Undergraduate Teaching. Number 6 in Most Innovative Schools. And number 16 in Best Value. We've got more information on those U.S. News and World Report rankings on WKYC.com if you want to check that out. Congratulations to JCU. That is quite the accomplishment. Lots of years running. And another congratulations is in order to our 3 News Director of Content, Adam Miller. Adam has been selected for the 40 Under 40 list by Crain's Cleveland. And Adam and the honorees are being recognized for the differences they make in leading their companies and their commitment to the future here in Northeast Ohio. Now, this list includes professionals, entrepreneurs, community activists, and also philanthropists. So a wide range of people here in the Northeast Ohio community. Crain says that in a year that has been like no other with the COVID-19 pandemic, many of these people have stepped up in immeasurable ways, and they are now being recognized by Crain's Cleveland. So Adam, we want to thank you very much for your leadership here at WKYC Studios. Absolutely incredible person to work with. He has come to 3 News after working as the senior producer at NBC's Today Show. He worked on the 4th Hour with Kathy Lee Gifford and Hoda Kotb. We're very lucky to have him. Congratulations to Adam and all of those honorees. You can see the full list of the 40 honorees linked on WKYC.com and our WKYC app. That's it for your 3 News Now afternoon update for Monday, September 14th. I'll see you next on What's New with your trending stories in the Clicking in Cleveland segment, and also your reactions to that ugly loss to the Ravens yesterday. We'll be talking about that in the 5 o'clock show on What's New as well. And then I'll see you back here tomorrow for 3 News Now. Everyone enjoy the rest of your afternoon. I'm Stephanie Haney.